Hey there, welcome to week 50. Always like, whoa. And this week we're going to talk about the fable of Silver Cloud and the energy of confusion. You know, what's interesting for me about this particular fable is that, what often is perceived as a bad thing or a challenging thing may in fact be something quite remarkable and exceptional. So when I say that to you, one of the things I want you to keep in mind, I'm just going to move this down a little so you can see me better. One of the things I want you to keep in mind with all this is that there are going to be many juxtapositions when we work with spirit. There's many things that may be like, that doesn't make sense. But the way our intuition needs to speak to us is through, I want to say through things that won't make sense. Because if our brain is trying to figure it out and we allow that frustration, what happens is it puts us in confusion. When we know in our being, when we know that being in confusion is actually a way that spirit talks to us and that we can connect with our God consciousness, if you will, then what begins to happen is that we go to a completely different place energetically. So when we look at this confusion card, I want to point out to you that in this image, I want you to notice that the spirit, there's a spirit there that is completely enveloping her, but she's trying to resist it, but the reality is that she's there. And so one of the things I want to point out to you is that when we are confused, that really is a place for us to just relax and regroup. That's one of the reasons I love to travel, is because I get away and I see other things. And while I'm at a convention or I'm out speaking or traveling for another reason, a lot of times it's just that change of perspective. I just get that, because what I truly desire comes forward. And when we're in confusion, I think one of the early things I remember from Louise Hay years ago was that the idea that head colds, when we were sick, the energy is confusion. So a lot of times what I used to do when after I learned that, what I figured out is that maybe I just need to sit in this confusion, be in this place, and allow that to just allow me to heal. Now I don't have to get sick as much, because you see, what I've come to understand is that when I need that respite, when I need that day off, when I need that time, I might have a pajama day, like I'm having right now, full disclosure. So I have my little pajama shirt that says, "Don't dull my sparkle." And that's my little pajama shirt. And so sometimes, that's where we are. And I think that's what makes us so real to people, being in that confusion and not having that answer. Somebody said to me once, and this was years ago, she came up to me and she said, because I had just spoken and I just said, I'm in this place of, very unsure of what I'm doing next and confused. And she came up to me and she said, "Oh my gosh, you're still there?" And I said, "No, again." And she just went, "Oh." I said, because we have to go through that process, that cycle again and again. So you will revisit confusion many, many times in your life. The difference between revisiting it and staying in it is when I don't fight it, right? Because most of us will go, "I don't want to be confused. I want the answer. I want it now." And we force a situation. Rather than just look at this, and by the way, this is the 6th card in the 7th chakra. So that really is third eye. That is our intuition, if you will. That's our psychic spot. And that's the place where we have memory and flashes and ideas. So the only way to get that sometimes is through the energy of confusion. Now, I've come to know it as a energy of the unknown. So I've reframed it in my life where I know, if you go back to Women from Aubergine, the original key word for that was unknown. And so the thing that begins to happen is that we see the mastery of the unknown here. We see that I can lay here and get a head cold and be sick for 3 days, or I can just say, you know, I'm in confusion right now. I am going to just do what's in front of me and maybe do something else. So knowing that that's the process, for example, I went on a trip recently. It was to a conference, a writing thing. And, you know, I went confused. People were saying, well, what are you going to do? What's your point? Are you excited to go? I go, no, I don't feel anything right now, but I know my intention is to get clarity around something. And I had a specific thing in mind. And I said, but I'm just going to show up. And that's something we don't do enough. If we recognize that confusion, through that confusion comes the beauty of the pearl when the oyster opens, or the diamond when it's been, you know, thousands of years just pummeled, you know. I think that when we recognize that it's that time when we allow answers to come to us, because if we force them, sometimes we'll miss what we really desire. And what came to me on that trip was really refocusing who I am and what I want. So when we look at the idea of confusion and the quote saying every silver lining has a cloud, you know, we can recognize that the cycle of confusion, and the cycle for me, like sitting in my PJs, it kind of means, okay, I'm gonna have a PJ day. I'm just gonna lay there. But I did stuff. But I got to stay home with my dogs, and I kind of tinkered around, and I'm talking to you. So there are times when I'm in that space that I have to just honor it, because what will come to me is the refreshing other side. So confusion in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's just the pressure we put on ourselves to think we need the answer in the moment. So the message of the week, obviously, is confusion forces us to stop and gives us the opportunity to think again about where we're going, or to wait until a solution presents itself. How do you handle confusion in your life? Be aware that physical ailments, such as colds, express inner confusion and in some way are a form of resistance. Because we're trying not to do something, and what happens is our body breaks down. And in the breakdown, in those breaks, this discomfort enters. So recognizing, going, I'm uncomfortable, you know, that's part of this process. And remember, we're in the seventh chakra. It is a universal consciousness. Everybody gets confused. How we relate to the issue is the issue. So if I take confusion and go, I don't know what to do today, I'm just going to read a book. You know, if I'm lost with something, sometimes I'll write my way through it. I used to say, you know, when you're in the middle of a book, sometimes you have to just write like hell. You just have to write, and the answer comes. But you will find the solution when you sit quietly with the confusion. So it says, Tori's tip: if survival in the past included needing to know the answers, confusion can be a great struggle, and it can feel very unsafe. This week, consider how confusion can be an ally. In the fable, it's clear that spirit is in the cloud, guiding and protecting Jana. That's the character in the fable. When you feel confused, remember that you're actually being guided. And I think that's such a great reminder of, you know, we are guided into that confusion so that we can recover, right? When we talk about recovering from an illness, it's recovering where we were, who we were. And yet sometimes it's about discovering who we are. And we can really not just recover what we had, but discover something new when we allow ourselves to not fight the confusion, but be willing to see our part in something, to see that. And I think you'll see that in the fable when you read it, because the fable is really a vital part of our conversation, and it really will fill in some blanks for you. So let's talk about the first impression. In the fable, we begin to see confusion as a tool. And see, that's something very important too, because when we think of confusion as a tool, then we know how to use it to find the answer. And I'm going to tell you, the answer comes quicker and quicker with less and less discomfort. And that's really true. Like, you know, when I went on this trip, I was realizing that I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just playing with something. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what's going to be next. I'm confused about, because something didn't feel right in everything I was doing. Something didn't feel natural to me. And I was like, yeah, I feel like I'm pushing a boulder up a hill. And, you know, the old thing would have been, I got to find an answer. And people were like, you know, other friends were going, well, what do you think you should do? Do you think you, and I'm like, and my close friends, no, they're like, how are you doing? I go, I'm just confused. And they're like, oh, okay. And we keep talking. You know, sometimes, you know, I'll have friends say, so what's going on? I'll go, you know, I'm in this confusion about X, you know, about my work and where I'm going, but it's not a big deal. I'm glad I'm going on this trip, because people say, are you excited about meeting some of these people? I'm like, I'm not excited about anything because I'm in confusion, but I'm going to go and be present. And, you know, sometimes that's the best we can do, is just be present. And what comes from that is the clouds part, clarity comes, and I go, I know who I am again. And I'm not recovering what I lost, but I'm discovering where I want to be. And that's there's a differentiation that happens there that's very powerful. And that has to do with tools. That has to do with knowing the basic spiritual tools with intuition and with being a reader. It is those kinds of tools, but it's not necessary that you read cards. It's just that you understand that there are some spiritual tools that will bring you through to a peaceful state in your life. So let's see. Silver Cloud, which is the name of the fable, by the way. Silver Cloud represents the truth that you've locked into a place of confusion. It is only when you feel safe that you can really ask yourself, do I really want to know the answer? Be honest. And that's the key to this. You know, I think that one of the things I would say to you is step back this week, look at the way you've used confusion in your life, and what has it, you know, have you used it to quit? Or have you used it to say, you know, I'm really confused, and gotten frustrated with yourself? Or are you able to say, you know, I could see how when I've gotten confused, I've gotten really into upset, something happened because I didn't quit. So you may find that answers come when you don't quit. That's kind of, well, obviously we know that, but also, you know, allowing yourself to be in that confusion requires personal permission. And just saying, you know what, I'm confused today. I don't have to make meaning of it. Just means that I may have to play with my dogs more, you know, roll around on the floor with them, throw the ball, you know, whatever that looks like. Today has been a miserable rainy day here. And so I love it, because it was, you know, so perfect for where I've been at. And it allowed me time and space in my house to putter around, which I love. I really enjoy that. So what I say to you is, you invite stillness in. This is let me just say, okay, it's kind of like this. You invite confusion in when we do, you know, because we don't know what to do. And a lot of times I think it's like people think they have to find that answer for the next step. And sometimes there is no next step. Sometimes you really don't know. And that's why one of the things I talk about is achieving a goal can leave you completely confused. And people don't understand that because, well, you finished it. Now who am I? So having to create a new, I want to say a new path for yourself could be part of it too. So by inviting confusion into your space, you allow stillness to expand. You become still. And that's what I feel this week is about. But what do you think it's about? I'd like to hear your experience of the solo exercise, right? Because the solo exercise is about you asking what confusion means to you. And what would happen if you look at the group exercise? What would happen if you acknowledge it and do nothing for 48 hours? I would like to hear your thoughts on that. And of course, I want to hear your thoughts on the Fable. Please post that below. And I am going to see you, oh my goodness, I'm going to see you in week 51, which will bring about the final Fable before our wrap up. I'll see you next week.